Welcome to Coffee with a Couple Cure, where we share practical tips for your relationship before you finish your first cup. Here's Jay and Lori Pyatt.
Hi, everybody. Today's episode is going to cover some of the miraculous signs that we had that meant for us that we needed to be together. Mm-hmm. And then another sign of why we feel like we were meant to be mentors to other people.
Yeah. And I'll be doing a lot of the talking at first because a lot of the I was the one needing miraculous signs. If you've heard episode 3, you know that Jay and I weren't exactly attracted to each other at first. And with the other stuff going on, which we'll get to maybe in another episode, with that other stuff going on, I really needed a lot of signs. Is this the right guy? That sort of thing. So I'll be talking about a lot of that today. I don't even really know where to start. I guess I'll just start from the beginning. When before Jay and I met, I had met God in a more personal way, and had 2 super intense weekends where it just felt like it was me and God in the same room, and I was just bawling before Him out of my love for Him. And it was in those weekends I said, if it's you and me forever, I'm okay with that. If you want me to become a nun, I'll do that. It's just, I want to be with you forever. Then the next week, after that second weekend, that's when Jay and I started hanging out more together. And then there was a day where he and I were out with my daughter and another child who was about a year younger than her, out at the mountains where we lived. And we were walking around, and I thought, the only way she will ever have a child this close in age is if we adopt. And then about, an hour later, you turn, and I had never thought about adoption before, ever. And then Jay turned to me and said, do you remember? You don't remember?
I don't even remember the conversation.
Yeah,
Sorry.
He turned to me and said, have you ever thought about adoption? And I was like, well, yeah, about an hour ago. And so I knew that we were both on the same sheet of music there. And then the bigger one, and this one takes a little bit of backstory. He and I were out, even before that, I was talking to my friend about him, and she said, okay, what's he like? And I said, he reminds me of a tree. He's just steady. He's family oriented. He's just strong. He's massive. He reminds me of a tree. And then when he would come out to my desk to help repair a computer issue, because we worked together, listen to episode 3 if you haven't heard that part of the story. But he would say,
I would call you darling, I think.
Yeah, he'd say, hey, darling, or well, darling, I don't know what to tell you. And so we sat with a friend from church who I think was kind of interested in you, and again at a restaurant after church, and sat and talked, and it was just us 3. And I explained to you how I had explained you to my friend, as a tree. And I told you that, and it's like, you got it, but the person across the table was like, that's just stupid. And I was like, it's okay, I don't need you to understand it. Yeah. And so then you and I were talking late on the phone, and we got off the phone. Oh, no. You and I discussed on the phone that night what our
names would be for each other.
Nicknames would be. And I said, well, I like calling you Tree, and you seem to like, when you call me Darling, so how does that sound? Or somehow we brought up both of those terms. We got off the phone, and I started reading the Bible. And I felt like God wanted me to read Song of Solomon. Now, I was waiting until marriage. And if you know anything about that book of the Bible, it's very erotic. And I'm like, I don't know. And I felt led to read it. So it was kind of like Bible roulette. The page just opened. My eyes landed on Song of Solomon 2:3. And it said, like a lily among thorns is my darling among the young maidens, and like an apple tree Christ is my lover among the young men. I was floored. I called him right back and I said, I think God's in this. I think he's in this because, these verses. And so I've never checked in with you on that. How did that land in you?
I was pretty impressed by it. I felt like it was very much a confirmation of what we had just, said to each other, not really in a flighty way, but just in being a young couple or whatever, to talk about our nicknames, and then here's confirmation that it's something written in the Bible, in one single verse. It put both of them together, and it was something that you stumbled on that I thought was great.
Yeah. So we went forward, and there were other signs from our spiritual mentors saying, because I was super hesitant to marry him, and they were saying, we think God's in this. I think God's in this. I think God has a mission for you guys in this. And if you know my story, before Jay and I started dating, I asked God after a couple years of just meeting him, what do you want me to do? Like, what's my purpose in life? And he said, your purpose in life is to have a great marriage and to help other people do the same. Of course, I didn't hear that audibly, but I felt it in my spirit, and it was like, oh, okay, that sounds good. Because it really struck something in me, like that's my heart to do that. So we had those signs, and I'm really, really, really happy we had those signs, because I have looked back on that over the years going, I think this was a mistake. I mean, we didn't know each other very well. Maybe we never should have gotten married.
Right.
And I guess regretful at times, but then those confirmations would come flooding back, and it'd be like, okay, no, we were meant to marry. And then just the other night, I was looking for some old photos to put with one of the blog post articles, and came across something from around that time that said, these are some events that God orchestrated before Jay and I met each other. I had completely forgotten about this, but the night before those two really intense weekends started, I had gone to a concert with my sisters and a Christian friend who I was kind of thinking about dating him, but it just wasn't there. And I told him, yeah, these people at work are trying to get me with Jay, but I'm interested in God right now. And he had known this, and still he wanted me to go to the concert. So all of us went, and up till then, I knew I was holding stuff back from God in my life. And there at the concert, I was like, I finally got to the point where I was, yes, God, now what's the question? I'm telling you yes, what's the question? I was just truly surrendered. I gave him everything in my life, and then those two intense weekends, and then meeting you. So all of that orchestrates together to me to go, I think God's in this.
Right.
I think we were supposed to be together.
Well, one story that you didn't touch on, or were you going to talk more on that?
No, I think.
So one story that I think kind of confirmed things for me, after we got engaged, Lori had her sister cut her hair. And I had come over just shortly after that, and Lori was in a panic because her engagement ring was missing. And for me, it was a confirmation that we should be together, because when she was panicked, I was able to stay calm. I was able to help her kind of navigate the moment, and I knew where to look to find the ring.
Yeah, before my hair, I had put out a towel to catch the hair, taken off my ring, and put it somewhere, because it was still kind of loose on my finger. And I was just, because it was just days after not a week or two after we got engaged. And I was like, oh my, Jay, I am so sorry. I lost your ring. I took apart the drain, which was completely gross. Oh my gosh. You want to try something smelly? Well, take apart your drain with the sink drain, and it wasn't in there. And I looked all around, and Jay came in and
Yeah, I was just completely calm about it, and I asked her where she dumped the hair, and we went and found it, and the ring was in there.
it never even occurred to me. I thought for sure I'd put it in my pocket or on the countertop somewhere.
And that
Yeah,
that
it-
still remains true, that there's times when
Oh,
Lori
yes.
gets panicked about things she can't find, and I
Yeah.
calmly help her find it, and it's not a big deal, but to me it's just one of those little confirmations of us being together.
Yeah, and I'm shocked because it was in the grass.
Yeah.
And he just, I guess she said it gleamed or something.
Yeah, I just saw it, bent over and picked it up.
Yeah. So I was like,
Over.
oh.
Yeah.
Okay, so now why don't you tell them why we know or we really feel like we're meant to mentor?
Right. So, just like Lori's moment of surrender back in 1994, at the beginning of 2016, we had just finished watching a video series that I really got the impression from God that even though, life isn't fair, I get that, but He even said life isn't even going to be just, like with justice, but He said, I'll be with you in it. And that was the part that really struck me. So I said to Lori, I think I'm at a new level of surrender. And that night we prayed, and I said, God, I'm at a new level of surrender, whatever it is you want me to do. And I went into work the next day. I get into work at 7 o'clock. By 7:30, my boss had come to my desk and told me that I was being laid off from my job that I'd had for 14 years. Not for any particular reason other than the market had changed, and I was one of the higher paid people in my facility, and they were doing a cut in staffing.
There were several qualifications that the people had to meet, and he met all those qualifications. That he didn't touch product, and he was a high paid employee, and there was somebody else lower paid that was in that same position. So
Yeah, and they said they would hire me back if the market changed or if the opportunity came up. So it was not for any disciplinary reason.
can I?
Yeah, go ahead.
It was a shock. I mean, to see him. He came through the door before 8 o'clock, and I was sitting on the couch having, doing my morning quiet time. And he came through, and he had a box in his hand. I was like, no. And he said, they laid me off. And I was like, what are they thinking? What are they thinking letting you go? Because he had knocked it out of the park. You had received 5 awards, and in that previous year, or previous year, and within the last 3 months, you had gotten the assembly line back up and running, and
Twice.
fixed these other 2 things that even the owners of the software, the writers of the software, couldn't fix. So I'm like, what? I mean, he saved their butts a few times. So I was shocked that he got laid off.
And so Lori and I had taken a little bit of time to try to figure out what are our next steps going to be.
And we had written out 15 different business ideas.
Right. And
or getting a job ideas.
yeah. And this is the only one that has really gained any traction. It's something where we continue to have an impact with people.
Yeah.
And so I guess really to me, in a way of kind of summing up, why are we talking about this? Yeah, it's neat that we have these markers in our past that help us see why we do what we do. But it's helpful when you get into the stressful moments of building a business together, or in the stressful moments of building a marriage together, and you're thinking, why am I even with this person?
Right.
It's helpful to be able to look back and go, because of this sign and this sign and this sign, which helped me to know that it wasn't entirely up to me.
Yeah. So our practical tip for you today is, if you have signs like that, write them down, reflect on them, and recall them when you guys are having a kind of in a bad spot, because they really can say that it wasn't a mistake to get together.
Yeah, there's even losing my job and struggling to find a new job was actually a good thing, and it's led to some good things for us. We've had some challenging moments in there.
Yeah. This business is no different than any other entrepreneurial thing. It
Yeah.
is heavy lifting at front at the first.
Yeah. So we needed that reminder. Okay, why are we in this? What are we doing? Who called us to this? Because if you really believe in God the way we do, if He called us to this, He's not going to say, "Ha I just fooled you into doing something and wasting all your time." He's got some plan here.
Haha, never mind.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Yeah. So it's helpful to have these reminders just because we know life's going to get in the way sometimes.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's the episode for today. Hope to see you on the next one. Bye,
Thanks, everybody.
guys.
Bye.